trends in business and business education. Brought to you by the Wright State University Raj Soin College of Business, a catalyst for progress, innovation, and positive change in the business world. Here now is the host of the program, Birkwood Farmer, Dean of the Raj Soin College of Business.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone today to another program produced by the Raj Soin College of Business on business and economic education and business education. And I'm Birkwood Farmer, Dean of the Raj Soin College of Business, and our special guest today is Mr. Eric Collins, who is the Director of Economic Development for Montgomery County. Eric, glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Dean Farmer.
And what we're going to do for the next few minutes is talk about what Montgomery County is doing to further economic development in this area and how this relates to what we're doing in the Raj Soin College of Business, Eric, but with specific attention to our supply chain activities. So to get started, can you just tell our folks, what do you do, what does the county do to attract businesses, retain businesses, and help the business grow to become effective in this area?
Great. Well, first of all, our department, the Economic Development Department at the county, we are responsible for working with our existing businesses and attracting new businesses. We have some strategic initiatives at the county. One of them happens to be logistics, distribution, supply chain management. The other is transportation initiatives. We've had over $1 billion of infrastructure improvements from 2003 to 2013. Which will support the logistics and distribution. And then also we're responsible, or one of our other initiatives is to promote the downtown area, and then finally down in the southern part of the county around the new interchange called Austin Center. So that we're really excited about that new interchange coming online in July of this year. One of the things that we do to attract new businesses is that we have some marketing where we have building and site databases that prospective companies can go to, site selectors, national and international site selectors, so that we can show what kind of inventory we have on the landscape in the county. If you want interstate frontage, we have that. If you want a greenfield site tucked into a community, we have that as well. We also work very closely with our businesses, our existing businesses, because 80% of our job growth comes from our existing companies. So we have a program called Business First for our greater Dayton region. And it started in Montgomery County, funded initially in 1999. And the purpose of that program is to go out and meet with CEOs of small, medium, and large companies, kind of learn about where they are today and where they're going in the future. And we have worked diligently among our communities in Montgomery County and our regional resource partners, which are our nonprofit economic development organizations. And we consider Wright State one of our premier regional resource partners because a lot of our businesses need a lot of assistance.
Yeah. Well, let me just, as you know, as we know, the folks watching today know that for the last couple of years, the U.S. economy had gone through some bad economic times. Mm-hmm. This area, the state of Ohio, has gone through some bad economic times. But how do you compare what you're doing with the business development in this area compared to, say, what it was a couple of years ago? Is it moving? Is it things looking better, or what?
You know, things are still very tenuous in the economy, national economy and local economy. But I have to say, we're kind of like having our finger on the pulse. We get a lot of contacts from these site selectors, and we clearly have seen more activity with inquiries of consultants looking for buildings or space. And I think that interviewing a lot of our companies that we have, last year alone, the Business First program in Montgomery County and in the region met with about 600 companies. And we are starting to see signs that companies are talking about planning for expansion or growing their company, trying to grow their sales revenues, et cetera. So I think that we are starting to see a pickup. And certainly with some of the projects that we've recently landed, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, we all know that when companies are looking to locate wherever, some of the key aspects would be, what kind of labor force do you have? What kind of training do you have for the labor force? What type of highways do you have, et cetera. When you are talking to a potential client, what do you tell them is the best thing about the Dayton area or Montgomery County as to why they should really come here?
I think one of the key things, available workforce. We have an available workforce, an abundant workforce, and we have great learning institutions like Wright State. And when we're meeting with them, the value proposition is that if the workforce that is available needs to have different skills, we partner with Wright State, which we've done so effectively in the past and continue to do, to get them the right programs that they need to get those prospective employees into those companies. So, for example, in the area of supply chain management, where we've had some recent success, we're meeting with those companies and linking up with the university, with the Ross Soin School of Business, and it's worked out very well.
Well, why is supply chain? As I mentioned earlier, people that want to locate or stay here, they're looking at labor force, as we said, with training of labor force, highways, infrastructure, and you just brought up supply chain. Why is supply chain so important to companies when 10 or 20 years ago we didn't hear this term too much?
Right. Well, I think it's all about efficiency. It's about, because we're in a global market, businesses have to be competitive. It's kind of a Darwinistic thing, survival of the fittest. And those that aren't efficient are not going to be successful. And I think that businesses are looking at greater efficiencies. How can we have better trained individuals to help their company be more successful? For example, one recent example is the Collective Brands, Payless. They're the Western Hemisphere's largest shoe company, and they decided to make a location decision here in Montgomery County, and they built an 800,000 square foot facility. Employing now, they have about 595 employees. Well, the nice thing was that we were able to partner with Wright State in our Montgomery County Job Center and do some collaboratives to screen employees, having job fairs here, and it's been a very big success with the partnership.
So you're saying with the supply chain programs we have here in the Ross Soin College of Business, that was one of the key factors that got Payless to come here.
Absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
Well, and do you think that we will be working with the folks at Payless more in terms of training programs, education programs for executives, or how do you see this going over the next few years?
Here's a perfect example. When we met with the executive team, and at the time we didn't know who it was. It was a confidential company, but once we found out, we had actually been meeting with the vice president of the global supply chain for Collective Brands, or Payless. And one of the things that we mentioned to them, it wasn't just about leading your company and then go off and do what you need to do. It was more about the long-term relationship with that company. And Wright State was right there. The Ross Soin College of Business was right there, and we said that, you know, we'll help you on the front end with the recruitment, but also we want to establish those long-term relationships with you. And I think that an example has been their HR department has reached out to Wright State. Wright State has gone out to Payless. Now they're almost 2.5 years into their operation, and I just see it as a very positive win-win for the university, the community, and of course the company.
Yeah, because I can see with that, as you know, we have a very unique and different master's program in logistics and supply chain, and I think it's probably one of the better programs in the country. And this is going to be a large opportunity for some of the high-level folk in Payless to be involved in that program, in addition to some of the training programs that we'll give in supply chain. So that's something I think that we have here that's very important. And I understand the Caterpillar is going to be coming here. And can you talk to the folks about what our role was in working with you in supply chain with bringing Caterpillar, which that's a big hit for Montgomery County.
It's huge. Fortune 50 company. They are going to locate this will be the second largest CAT logistics facility in North America, 1.5 million square feet, and they're going to eventually have plans to expand to 2 million square feet, employing conservatively 500 new employees to the area, with about $118 million economic impact in the region the first year. That project was an interesting project, and here's why. When we met with Caterpillar for the first time, and again, we didn't know who they were, other than they were a large company, a company that we would recognize if we heard the name. We talked about the value proposition, the available workforce, the incredible infrastructure that we have to support logistics types of companies, and then our academic resources in undergraduate and graduate schools in the supply chain area. And that really got their attention, especially when we mentioned that Wright State is one of the few graduate programs that offers a kind of a multi-integrated approach to supply chain management. And that really perked their interest. We later then went to Morton, Illinois, once we knew who the company was, and went to their #1 logistics facility. And again, we talked about Wright State and mentioned the capabilities that they have. And I think they felt very comfortable knowing that they have in their new community that they're located in a great learning institution.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I think we're very fortunate in the Dayton area to have not only Wright State University and Rochestone College of Business, but we have many other good universities that are here to provide research and training. So it's not just a partnership between Montgomery County and Wright State. It's a partnership between Montgomery County and all of the institutions here in this area, which we are very fortunate. And I just want you to know that it's a pleasure for us in our college to work with you and your staff and the other private sector folks and government folks in this area, because I think Dayton is on the move, and I give the credit to you and some of your staff for really being aggressive in bringing these companies here. And we have about another minute or two, but is there anything else you'd like to say about economic development or the future for this area?
I think that the big thing that I hope the listeners and viewers take away is that we have a great integrated community as far as resource partners focused on businesses. And kind of our view is us against the world. And with all of us working in the same direction and complementing our strengths, I think that to our businesses, it's going to be a big plus to them. So I want to thank you very much.
Now, and again, when a company calls you, just emphasize, is there one thing that you tell these folks about why they should come to Dayton or why they should stay in Dayton?
Well, it's a great place. We're a small town, kind of with a lot to offer, and it's a great place to have families and so forth. Great learning institutions, schools, public, private, etc. And we've got the great available workforce here.
Yeah, and you got a dean of the business school who's a good golfer, and they can play golf with the dean.
The best of the best.
Yeah, that's right. I think this has been a very enjoyable session today. It's how we can relate the supply chain activities of the Rochestone College of Business at Wright State with Montgomery County. My special guest today has been Eric Collins, the Director of Economic Development for Montgomery County. And I just want to thank you for being with us today. And I'd like to encourage all of our viewers to stay tuned for our next segment, which will also focus on supply chain, but we'll take more of a micro look in our next show. Instead of talking about Montgomery County in general, we will talk about how one of our recent graduates from our master's program in supply chain, who works at Siemens, is executive with Siemens, which, as we know, is a large international corporation, and how his research has benefited Siemens Corporation in terms of cost effectiveness. So I think this would be very interesting to our viewers. So again, thank you, Eric. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to our second part of our program on logistics and supply chain management. This program is being sponsored by the Rochestone College of Business. I'm the Dean of the college. Today we have a special guest and one of our top faculty members. Let me introduce my guest first. It's Jeff Kyler, who's the General Project Manager for Siemens.
Yes.
Jeff, glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
And then we have Dr. Jim Hamister, who is the director of our supply chain program and also a professor of logistics and supply chain in our College of Business. So, Jim, let me start off with you first. Will you kind of explain to the folks what our program is all about?
Sure, let me tell you a little about it. We offer a 12-month online Master of Science program in logistics and supply chain management. I think there's three things I'd like to talk about briefly of how the program is structured to explain it. We have 5 weekend residencies, so we consider this a blended program where students get to know the faculty in person, and we use the residency programs in order to build some teamwork and between the members of the cohort. Outside of the residencies, we offer 10 academic courses that consist of approximately 5 weeks each that run between each residency. And I think the third thing to think about our program is the applied project. So some of the major benefits of the participating in the program are the value delivered by these applied projects and the transformation we can deliver into supply chains through some of our academic work and some of the good work of our students in applying techniques to their businesses. So we cover, I think, the full range of integrated supply chain issues, from strategy to lean to operations management and supply chain network design. So I think we cover a broad area of integrated supply chain management, and I think we're effective at implementing transformation and improvement with the students that we work with.
All right, very good. And I think something we'll talk about later on in a few minutes is I think one of the unique features of this program is the way it was designed by our faculty in cooperation with the business sector. And as you know, Jeff, you just went through the program. As you know, right now, not only do we have our top faculty in the College of Business teaching, but we also bring in some top folks from industry to teach. And I think that together makes a good program. So we designed it to be this way. Well, Jeff, you just finished this program. Will you tell us a little bit about what you do as an executive with Siemens and why you enrolled in this program?
Sure, Berkeley. I work for Siemens PLM Software, which is a business unit of the Siemens Industrial Automation Group. We're a global leader, product lifecycle management solutions. My current role as a global account manager is to work with larger OEMs, addressing a lot of their business concerns, helping them with innovation, everything from ideation all the way through the product life. The reason I kind of really looked at this program, I talked and researched with one of my former colleagues that attended the first cohort. He had a lot of good things to say about the program, and I've seen some of the successes that he had gone through as well. And I thought, well, aside from the personal accomplishments or my goals, so to speak, I really kind of looked at a means of this program to provide me, to broaden a lot of perspective, my perspective of supply chain. I'm so focused upon the arena of product life cycle and working with the ideation through product life that I don't really get involved in having